Welcome back, dear students. We started the third chapter and we are on the way to the animal tissues, and we completed epithelial tissue and we started the connective tissue and completed up to dense connective tissue. Now we start with specialized connective tissue. Next is specialized connective tissue. Specialized connective tissue are classified as cartilage, bones, and blood. The intercellular material of a cartilage is solid and it is pliable and resist compression. So cartilage வந்து ரொம்ப solid மாதிரி இருக்கும், ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்காக இருக்கும், and it can also resist compression. அப்படி ப்ரெஸ் பண்ணலாம். So cells of these tissues are enclosed in a small cavities within a matrix secreted by them. Most of the cartilage in vertebrate embryos are replaced by bones in adults. Cartilage, எங்க இருக்கு cartilage? Cartilage is present in the tip of the nose. நம்ம nose தொட்டு பாரு, cartilage, soft bone. Outer ear joints, you can touch the ear pinna between the adjacent bones of the vertebral column. ரெண்டு vertebral columnக்கு நடுவில் இருக்கக்கூடிய bones, limbs and hands in adults. Second one is the bones. Bones are hard and non-pliable ground substance rich in calcium salts. Cartilage வந்து solid and pliable, whereas bones are hard and not pliable ground substance which is rich in calcium and collagen fibers which give strength to the bones. Its main tissue that provides a structural framework to the body. Bones give the structural framework to the body. Bones support and protect the softer tissues and organs. So bones, it protects the inner softer tissues. The bone cells, it is called as osteocytes. Cytes naale cell, osteo na bone. So the bone cells are present in the spaces called lacunae. The lacunae என்ற வேர்டு 10th நீங்கள் கேள்விப்பட்டிருப்பீங்க. அந்த டியர்ஸ் ஆஃப் டைகாட்டா ஸ்டெம் லீஃப் படிக்கும்போது படிச்சிருப்போம். புரோட்டோசைலம் லாக்குனே இல்லையா? லாக்குனே மீன்ஸ் the space. The bone cells are present in the spaces called lacunae. The limb bones such as the long bones of the legs serve weight bearing functions. ஸோ நம்மளுடைய லிம் போன்ஸ், அதாவது நம்மளுடைய இப்போ தை போன் எடுத்துக்கோ, தை போன் வந்து லாங் போன் இல்லையா? ஸோ இட் சர்வ் ஆஸ் அ வெயிட் பியரிங். நம்மளுடைய வெயிட் ஃபுல்லாக அதுதான் தாங்குது. They also interact with the skeletal muscles attached to them to bring about movements. Muscles கூட bones add ஆகி அது என்ன பண்ணுது, மூமெண்ட்டுக்கு ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல்லாக இருக்குது. The bone marrow in some bones is the site for the production of blood cells. So bone marrowல தான் blood cells, RBC, WBC, plateletsலாம் produce ஆகுது, உருவாகுது. It is a site for the production of blood cells. Okay, wow. So bones, once again I repeat the bones are hard and pliable which is rich in calcium and it gives structural framework to the body. It protects the inner soft tissues and organs, and these bone cells are present in lacuna, that is the space. Human leg bones serve as a weight bearing function, and then it is also interact with the skeletal muscle which is helpful for movement. And this bone marrow in some bones is the site for the production of red blood cells, white blood cells and blood platelets. Next is the blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. This blood contains plasma and blood cells. So blood cells is nothing but RBC, WBC and platelets. So blood transports. It acts as a transport medium for the cardiovascular system, carrying the nutrients, waste, respiratory gases throughout the body. So in your 10th standard itself, you studied more about this blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. Next, we see some of the important disorders of connective tissue. There are various disorders of connective tissue. The first one is the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Syndrome அப்படின்னாலே குறைபாடு அப்படின்னு அர்த்தம். ஓகேவா? ஸோ யூ ரீட் தட் ஸ்பெல்லிங் EHLERS. Ehlers Danlos syndrome. This is a defect in the synthesis of collagen in the joints, heart valves, organ walls, and arterial walls. ஸோ அந்த கொலாஜனில் ஏதாவது ப்ராப்ளம், ஒரு வேளை ஜாயின்ஸில், ஹார்ட் வால்வில் இந்த மாதிரி இருந்தால் இந்த குறைபாடுகள் வரும். செகண்ட் ஒன் இஸ் த ஸ்டிக்லர் syndrome. It affects the collagen and results in facial abnormalities. ஸ்டிக்லர் சிண்ட்ரோம்னு நம்மளோட ஃபேஸை அப்நார்மல் ஆக்கிடுது. Next, third one is the rhabdomyosarcoma. It is a life-threatening tumor of head, neck, and urinogenital tract. So it is a very serious syndrome which causes a tumor katti in the neck, head, and in the urinogenital tract. And there are also some autoimmune connective tissue disorders. Autoimmune means our own immune system affects our own body. Autoimmune connective tissue disorder, which includes rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis na mudakuvadam solluvom illaya adu. The immune cells attacks and inflame the membranes around the joints. அந்த முட்டி கை கால் the joints இருக்கு இல்லையா, அதை சுற்றி அப்படின்னு ஆகிடும். செல்ஸ் அட்டாக் ஆகி இம்யூன் சிஸ்டம் வீக்னஸ்னால அந்த மாதிரி வரும். ஸோ த மெம்பரைன்ஸ் அரவுண்ட் த ஜாயின்ட்ஸ். It can also affect the heart, lungs, and the eyes. Second one is Sjogren's syndrome. It is a progressive inability to secrete saliva and tears. So it affects the secretion of our body. So various secretions of saliva secrete agum, tears secrete agum. So it affects this part. So progressive inability to secrete saliva and tears. Okay. Next. And do you know we have two terms? One is biopsy, another one is autopsy. Biopsy means ஒரு liquid, ஒரு டிஷ்யூ கொஞ்சம் எடுத்து அதை டெஸ்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க, ஏதாவது அப்நார்மாலிட்டிஸ் இருக்குதா இல்லையா, பயோப்சி டெஸ்ட் கொடுத்தோம் இல்லையா, அதுக்கு சொல்கிறது. ஸோ வாட் இஸ் ஆட்டோப்சி? ஆட்டோப்சின்னா அது ஒரு போஸ்ட்மார்ட்டம் பண்ணுறோம் இல்லையா. ஸோ டெட் பாடியை வந்து உடல் கூறு ஆய்வு இல்லையா, ஸோ அதுக்காக யூஸ் பண்ணுறது. ஸோ இதான் திஸ் இஸ் த டிஃப்ரென்ஸ் பிட்வீன் பயோப்சி அண்ட் ஆட்டோப்சி. பயோப்சின்னா ஒரு டிஷ்யூ எடுத்து டெஸ்ட் பண்ணுறது, whereas autopsy is nothing but postmortem. Next is muscle tissue. Each muscle is made up of many long cylindrical fibers which are arranged parallelly. These fibers are composed of numerous fine fibrils, small unit of fibers that is called as fibril, which is called as myofibrils. Muscle fibers contract, that means it becomes short in response to stimulation, and then relaxes and return to their original state in an coordinated fashion. So in general, the muscles play an active role in all the movements of the body. So muscles is long cylindrical fiber which is arranged parallelly, and there are numerous fibrils that is called as myofibrils. They can contract and relax. There are three types of muscles: skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. Skeletal muscles. First we see what is skeletal muscle. The skeletal tissue muscle is closely attached to the skeletal bones. In a typical muscle such as biceps, the straighted or striped skeletal muscle fibers are bundled together in a parallel fashion. Straighted muscles, straighter இருக்கும், ரெண்டு எண்டும் ஷார்ப்பாக க்ளோஸ் ஆகிருக்கும், லாங் மசில். Okay, so a sheath of tough connective tissue encloses several bundles of muscle fibers. Okay, so skeletal muscle is nothing but the muscles which is attached to the skeletal bones. So these skeletal bones consist of straighted skeletal muscles in biceps. Second one is the smooth muscle fiber. Smooth muscle fiber tapers at both ends and do not show any striations. எந்த சுருக்கமும் இருக்காது, ஸ்மூத்தாக இருக்கும். They taper at the both end. Cell junctions hold them together and they are bundled together in a connective tissue sheath. So these cell junctions என்ன பண்ணும், ஹோல்ட் பண்ணி வச்சுக்கணும் எல்லா மசில்ஸும் ஒன்னோட ஒன்று. So we have seen several junctions: cell junction, tight junction, gap junction, and the third one is the adhering junction. Okay, so cell junctions hold these muscles and it is covered by a tough connective tissue. And next, the walls of the internal organs such as blood vessels, stomach and intestine contain this type of smooth muscles. The smooth muscles are involuntary muscles and the functions cannot be directly controlled. தானாவே வேலை செய்யும், அதை கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணவே முடியாது. இப்போ ஹார்ட் நில்லுன்னா நிற்குமா, அது மாதிரி துடிக்குது இல்லையா, அது போல தான். ஓகேவா? ஸோ தே ஆர் involuntary muscles. Third one is the cardiac muscle tissue. Cardiac muscle is a contractile tissue present only in the heart. Cardiac அப்படினாலே heart. Cell junctions fuse the plasma membranes of these cardiac muscle cells and make them stick together. So அப்படியே ஸ்ட்ரைட்டாக பிடிச்சிக்குது. Communication junctions at some fusion points allow the cells to contract as an unit. So the communication junction, ஒரு செல்லுக்கு இன்னொரு செல்லுக்கு நடுவில் ஒரு கம்யூனிகேஷன் இருக்கும். எல்லாம் அட் அ டைமில் சுருங்கும், அட் அ டைமில் விரியும். So they contract and relax as a unit. That is, when one cell receives the signal to contract, its neighbor cell also stimulated to contract. So இது வந்து ஒரு coordination work. There is another muscle called the palmaris muscle. Palmaris muscle. This is a long, narrow muscle which runs from the elbow to the wrist. Elbow, நம்ம முட்டி இல்லையா, elbowல இருந்து wrist, வாட்ச் கட்டுறோம்ல அது வரைக்கும். And it's an important for hanging and climbing in primates. Primates means order primata, monkeys, apes, okay, and is missing in 11% of the humans today. Palmaris muscle is present in order primata, but it is missing in human beings. Next, what are the diseases of this nervous system? There are two types of diseases. One is Parkinson disease, other one is Alzheimer's disease. Parkinson disease means it's a degenerative disorder of the nervous system that affects the movement, often including tremors. That means Parkinson's disease வந்துச்சுன்னா நம்மளோட nervous system affect ஆகி நம்மள மூவ் பண்ணாமல் பண்ணிடும். அதாவது பக்கவாதம் வந்த மாதிரி ஒரு. Second one is the Alzheimer's disease. It is a chronic neurodegenerative disease. Not better disease, chronic neurodegenerative disease, which includes the symptoms of difficulty in remembering recent events, problems with languages, disorientation and mood swings. இதெல்லாம் கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணுறது பார்த்தோன்னா நம்ம brain. So brain affect பண்ணும் in the disease. Next, we move on to the neural tissues. Neural tissue is nothing but the nervous tissue. Nervous system exert greatest control over the body's responsiveness to the changing condition. So what is the unit of this neural tissue? The neurons. Neurons is the unit of the neural system, and you know that in your 10th standard itself, the neurological cells which constitute the rest of the neural system protects and supports the neuron. Neuroglia makes up more than 1/2 of the volume of the neural tissue in our body. What is neuroglia? Neuroglia is a part of a nervous tissue. When a neuron is suitably stimulated, an electrical disturbance is generated which swiftly travels along with the plasma membrane. So arrival of the disturbances at the neuron ending or output zone triggers the event that may cause stimulation or inhibition of other adjacent neurons and other cells. So we studied about this neurons, and we will also going to study in our chapter 10 in detail. So we come to the end of third chapter. So it's a very simple chapter, and we have only limited tissues: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, and nervous tissue and muscle tissue. So we have just an outlook. We are going to discuss in detail in the future classes. Thank you.